to another episode of GeoawesomeTalk. Today I have a very special guest. We have the managing partner at MapCreator and a very good friend of mine, Maggie. Maggie, thanks for taking the time to be with us today.
Hi everyone. Actually, thank you for taking the time. I'm, as always, super grateful to be here, and I'm also very happy to say, in fact, that MapCreator luckily is no stranger anymore in the GeoAwesomeness community. So I'm really glad that we get to work together sometimes.
Yeah, MapCreator is no stranger to the GeoAwesomeness team, and we've been following you over the years, and we really enjoy the growth that you've had. But before we jump into the rest of the conversation, do you want to briefly introduce yourself and MapCreator for those of us who don't know you and MapCreator's mission?
Yeah, definitely. So Maggie, which is short for Magdalena, come from Austria, but I live in Lisbon, Portugal, and I work remotely as a product manager for MapCreator, who is a small team of internationals, all in one way or another crazy about maps. That's how we got together. And we're working either remotely, like I do, or from our headquarters in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. And we work on our mission, on our vision, which is our strong belief that anyone can create maps. We provide an online tool that allows you to create custom branded maps, annotated maps, which in a nutshell means you get to tell your story, you get to visually find a way to tell your story using our simple to use interface, using all sorts of annotations and drawing tools, highlighting areas, all the right tools for you to build a map the way that you like, the way that you want to tell your story, and also making sure that it matches your style expectation. And it's also up to you where or how you publish your map and how you get it out there. A large percentage of our users are from newsrooms. So maps are mostly printed in newspapers, or they're embedded in online articles. And a large growing part of our new users is also working with our latest animation tool to broadcast their maps in TV shows. But yeah, more about that later.
Yeah, I have to admit that the first time I got to know MapCreator was many, many years ago, and it was actually back then called Maps for News. So your focus back then was, and it's kind of a similar vision that you still have, in the sense that you want to allow anyone to be able to tell stories through maps. Of course, the tagline is maps can be done by anyone, but the core of it is that it's the ability to tell a particular story. It's the ability to walk your audience through a story through the use of maps. And it used to be called Maps for News. So you've come definitely a long way, because it is now rebranded right into MapCreator and not just Maps for News. Do you want to dive into that a bit and talk us about the history of the company and the evolution?
Yeah, definitely. You got it perfectly right. We started off with one of our product names being Maps for News. Funnily enough, MapCreator has always been the company name anyways. Maps for News back then was the focus when our company leaders were thinking, okay, let's somehow find a way to support those journalists, to support the graphic designers in newspapers, to help them have a way to build maps simply and fast and reliably as well, so they can really get their story out fast. There hasn't been a similar tool like that back then, so they went all for pushing out Maps for News, and we were focusing really only on the news industry, which is now practically 15 years ago. In the last 5-6 years, we've repeatedly received questions as to, okay, is it only for news? Can I use the product for something else as well? And that's when we started to realize that maybe the Maps for News name is a bit restricting, and we kind of just went one step back and realized that our company name, and now again product name, MapCreator, says it all. In fact, you have a means to create maps. So now we really do support literally anyone that needs some sort of custom tailored maps, no matter if you're a real estate agent and you need to find ways to market the properties you're selling, or if you're a travel agent and you want to build or show a map of the round trip that you're offering, or if you are working as an investigator for geopolitical affairs and you want to show and map the latest world happenings, that's all possible with MapCreator as well. So basically, you bring the data, you bring the story, and with MapCreator, you can then tell that story visually.
It's kind of also an interesting story that the evolution of MapCreator, or Maps for News as it was called, fits in with your own evolution in the company as well, because you started and you were focusing on products, and now you are the managing partner there. So it's kind of a nice thing for me, at least, to see how the company went from specializing on creating maps for journalists, and by the way, you work with quite a few big names out there, CNN and so on, to especially now where you say, right, MapCreator is pretty much for anybody out there who wants to tell or visualize a particular story and to convey this information in a visual way through the use of maps. And for a long time, this was through static maps, right? Of course, the maps themselves had a bit of dynamic impact to them. They could change, but still it was not really something where you would say it had a life or it was animated in its sense. And this is really the latest and the greatest feature that you have released. And we even had a GeoAwesomeness event on it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So for those of us who did not attend it, could you talk us about this evolution as well? I mean, what made you go from enabling people to create static maps to now map animations?
Yeah. So first of all, how we even got about that and how we even decided to go for map animations has to do with two very strong things and two strong pillars that we believe in MapCreator. One of them being we have a very good and very strong, sometimes even very personal relationships with our users, with our clients. So we take their feedback very, very serious. In the end, they're the ones that are bringing us forward. In the end, their feedback, their input allows us to continue to deliver new features. And one of the repeated questions we have received over the last couple of months was like, is there a way for us to work with maps and create map animations even? So that made us think a bit. Second of all, the second pillar we believe in is that we want to give a lot of personal space to our team members as well. We want to give them time to work on things that are exciting for them as well, not just for our users. So actually, one of our developers came up with a prototype of the map animation tool in his sort of own time. And when we realized the power of it and mapped that along with the increased interest we've received from our users anyways, we knew that this was the way to go for. So yeah, it was a very simple step for us. In fact, it's been simple back then as well when we realized, okay, from print for just newspapers, we need to provide tools that allows users to put maps online as well. So it's not just static anymore. It's not just print anymore. The web is the #1 way of conveying information. So we need to make maps accessible online as well. So that was a no-brainer. And it was also a no-brainer that we will then move forward towards map animations. Even before we had the animation feature, it was already possible to create map videos using post-production tools. So all of the MapCreator output, especially the vector output file types, are compatible with tools like Adobe Illustrator and Adobe After Effects. So we already had an existent client base even from the TV industry. And now that's, just a lot more and hopefully continuing to go more as well.
It's interesting to see how a pet project of a developer eventually makes it into, let's say, TV houses, including the likes of, I don't want to name drop here, but most of your customers in the newsrooms use it. What I'm quite interested about, and you briefly brought it up, that MapCreator is very much focused on talking to its customers, and the customers are, let's say, the driving force behind most of your product launches and most of the features that you bring in. And that, of course, is a very good aspect, because then you're catering to the needs of your customers and you're pushing it out. what were the business challenges behind creating map animations? Because when you say map animations or when you say map videos, and it was at least a mistake that I did at the beginning, was to kind of underestimate what it means. It's not as simple as, it's not a GIF that simply has a couple of maps that change and therefore they are animated, but it's a complete, you could essentially create a movie with it. And as long as the central character of the movie is the map. So that's how powerful this tool is. So what were like kind of the business challenges behind it? Did you have to like think about whether this even makes sense from a business perspective, even though it's a really cool feature to have? Could you maybe walk us through that?
Luckily, from a business perspective, we didn't have to think long and worry much if this is going to be relevant in the market or not. We sort of had the proof already, and we've had this increased interest from our users and from our clients that this is in fact something that they're looking for. We know that the competition out there had several market changes, which would enable us as well to kind of slide right in there with a product alternative when it comes to map animations. Nonetheless, I think the two main challenges that we've had was, one, a time factor. So by the time that the first prototype was out, we roughly had 3 months time to get a well-working MVP out, because we participated in a large conference in LA from the Online News Association, ONA. And we knew that we wanted to market our new MVP there. So time was a big factor. And the second one, which goes hand in hand, was that we did need to realize that it is for now only an MVP. We need to get a first version out there to see, okay, does this in fact make sense? Do our users like what they see? Can they work with it? So we kind of needed to remind ourselves a little bit of what are the minimum things need to be there in this MVP, and let's really only focus on these. And we do need to realize the nice to haves which can come into a second and in a third iteration, and obviously also being able to tell this very openly again to our users as well, telling them, look, this is available right now. It's our beta version of the animation feature. We are collecting feedback still. We are in the baby shoes, but we know that this is going to be in the future.
Yeah, so it looks like you are a big fan of attending conferences, or at least would like to attend more conferences. Speaking of, releasing an MVP and ensuring that the customers know that this is a beta version, giving them a roadmap and walking them through how much they can use it and so on. Mm-hmm. How does the process in terms of actually creating a product roadmap work for you internally? Because you have this unique position inside MapCreator. You're not only the managing partner now, you still are very much involved in the product roadmap, right? You're still the product manager there. So how does that work? Do you already have a product roadmap for next year? Could I, as some random person, talk to you and ask you for particular features? Just curious.
Well, given that it's December and 2023 is really just a couple of days away still, I should say, yes, the product roadmap stands for 2023, but also being very realistic and humble, saying, actually, no, it's not standing yet. Also has to do with the fact that, and again, being very transparent, we have a lot of cleaning up to do on our past roadmap. So being a small and keyword I want to mention here is agile software companies, that we really jump onto opportunities the moment they arise, just like we did it with the animation feature. And since we were focusing on that for a great deal of the past year, a lot of other things that we were supposed to work on last year, didn't get prioritized. So it's a bit of a mixture of realizing the opportunities that are available and understanding if they're worthwhile and if we should focus our time and our resources on those right now. And it's those versus seeing what are the existing client feedback points that we have received over the years. Obviously, They have quite a way on our road map as well. We want to make sure that we keep our existing users happy, but also want to make sure that we add the right amount of features to get those new users as well. We want to grow into new markets. We want to grow as a company, of course. So we know that we need to continue to deliver new features to get to those new markets. And that, just like with a lot of other companies, for sure, is just an ongoing challenge for MapCreator, also for putting down the roadmap for 2023. Nonetheless, because you said, you random person, can you ask what's going to happen this year? One thing very clear, we're going to continue fine-tune and improve our animation capabilities. There's a lot of things still on our to-do list that would enhance the feature itself, that would still improve the quality of, well, work life for the users as well when it comes to them creating maps. And there's two more exciting things that I think are worthwhile mentioning. One is that we are looking into ways to connect Google Sheets when it comes to creating statistical maps. So give the COVID maps that we've seen over the last couple of years a quick review again, so we understand, we know that there's a need for it, for statistical maps, for easy to use maps. So the idea is that you can just manage your data sheet, change the data very easily using a G sheet, and then the opportunity would be for the user to connect a map to this G sheet, and whatever data is being updated in the sheet will automatically update the map as well. So that's one thing we're looking at, that going hand in hand with general improving our statistical map creation process, so-called choropleth maps, for those of you who know this term. So that's topic one. And the second one that we're looking into this year as well is improving our API. So we offer an API. We have existing clients that work and create maps with our API, but we would like to just offer more opportunities there, increase the speed, make it more robust.
So to summarize, I like the fact that, by the way, before I get into the summary, I like the fact that you did a bit of marketing for your development team, saying that you are an agile company, so that all the developers in the company are happy. Jokes aside, to summarize, the product roadmap, in a sense, looks like a combination of three main highlights. The first one being ensuring that the map animations feature is more robust, ensuring that the bugs are fixed, and so on and so forth, which makes absolute sense because you just launched it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then the second big aspect and the second big development is making the whole process of making maps easier in terms of statistical mapping, in terms of using Google Sheets and all the other bells and whistles that come with making it available when somebody just wants to create a map within a couple of seconds or even a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And the last aspect of it is kind of seems like also a push more into the developer world, making your API even more accessible.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it's make it easier for people to create maps even more simpler. So let them use Google Sheets. And if they don't want to even look at the product, then make it easier for them to have a programmatic interface so that they can just create maps using the APIs. And the third one, the animations, the greatest feature that you have so far, right?
You got it. Yeah, perfect summary.
I worked hard on summarizing there. Maggie, we're coming towards the end, and I want to take this opportunity to ask you maybe a bit more of a personal question related to MapCreator and your journey there. I mean, you've had the privilege, let's say it like that, of leading this company, working on a lot of cool features, building on top of what was already done, and bringing MapCreator to where it is today, which is a recognized name in the world of journalism when it comes to creating maps, and potentially also for a lot of other customers who are now looking at solutions which can help them create simple maps. Mm-hmm. What were if you are feeling comfortable about it, do you want to talk to us about some of the personal challenges and how you feel about it in terms of building and leading a company in the mapping world?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it started off with one of the biggest personal challenges, or one of the biggest personal steps, which was starting as an intern in a software company in a foreign country. So I studied in Austria and I did an internship in the Netherlands in MapCreator, which, yeah, hindsight looks like a complete random stat. I've never worked in a software company before. I've never had any touch points with a mapping software nor interest whatsoever. But in the end, it was curiosity and yeah, certain willingness to just try out new things that got me there. And if you just maintain this curiosity, if you maintain this willingness to learn new things, even though, well, they're sometimes uncomfortable, they're new, it's a bit scary, then literally anything can happen. And if you land in the right environment, which I did, and we continue to provide this environment for other interns as well, where you have the opportunity to learn, to get different touch points in the different departments, to grow, to get great mentoring. That in the end is what can keep you in a, well, still sort of foreign environment. I think you can definitely compensate with, well, in my case, not having any technical background at all, but just wanting to learn more about it, to, well, continue to see what's out there in the market, to continue to stay on top of the recent developments. And most importantly, I think, is just being able to rely on the people you're working with, relying on the team. So being able to tell that I can trust all of my colleagues from the company 100% blindly, that's definitely, yeah, worth gold.
Wow, that's quite inspirational, in the sense that, I mean, even though I'm quite delighted to see what MapCreator has achieved and also what you've achieved, I did not know that you started as an intern. That's quite an inspirational journey when you think about it, because today you are the managing partner. So from an intern to managing partner within less than a decade, that's quite impressive, and it also sets a very high target for your interns. So.
Thanks. No, thanks. In fact, we have a couple of those success stories with several of our interns. Yeah, it's just a great way of, first of all, bringing the freshest industry knowledge in. And if the mutual interest and the mutual motivation from those future colleagues is there as well, to dive into a new domain, to get to know the market, then yeah, that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe I should also explain, one of the reasons why I really like MapCreator a lot is the fact that it's a geospatial company that predominantly caters to non-geospatial experts. You don't work with, let's say, people who have a degree in geography. You actually work with journalists and you cater to their needs, and you've been successfully catering to their needs for more than a decade. And it's nice to see such a culture develop, not only with you, but also with the interns that are joining, or the interns that have joined, to see that geospatial companies can sell and sell well to the rest of the, let's say, the tech or the universe, is quite nice to hear. Right. Before we end, I want to give you the opportunity to maybe give a key message or condense or summarize what would you like the audience to take away from this whole 20-minute interview?
Mm-hmm. First of all, I think one being, let's try to get away from maybe sometimes this negative connotation of the word maps. You know, if you think about maps, you maybe think back of your time in school, geography, atlas, you know, crazy cartographic words that don't make sense, because maps can really be seen anywhere, and there's use cases literally hidden anywhere. And maps are really a great way of visualizing a story, and they're just pretty to look at as well. They invite for, you know, just daydreaming of where you want to go for your next vacation, or what you want to explore next. So maps are a great thing. That's definitely one thing I want to convey. And the second one maybe just a short summary about my personal story, which is, you know, if you're in doubt, if you're not sure if something is worthwhile doing, just do it anyways, because either it, well, was nothing and you have just one more story to tell, or it ends up being one of the best decisions you've made in your life.
Thanks for that. And I have to say, for the people who listen and watch Geoawesomeness, maps are awesome are not going to be a difficult sell. It's like preaching to the choir. But thanks a lot. I really enjoyed talking to you today, and I'm pretty sure the audience is also going to enjoy listening to you and your journey and where MapCreator is headed in the future. Mm-hmm. What's the best way for them to keep in touch? Should they visit MapCreator? Is there a newsletter? How do they reach out?
Exactly, both of the things you mentioned. We have a newsletter. You can even sign up for MapCreator for free. You can sign up, create an account, and even download a couple of maps and just see how simple it is. So mapcreator.io would be our website. It's the best way to get in touch with us.
Thanks, Maggie. It was a pleasure, and I hope to have you soon again.
Thanks, Muthu. It was really a pleasure as always, and I'm very sure there's going to be a couple of more times where we work together. So thanks.